So thank you so much. I'm Paige. I'm an alcoholic. And yeah, let's dive right on into it. So where we're picking up is on page 32. And as Peppa nailed it, second full paragraph, a man of 30. Now, I hope you'll forgive like an Ecbole right off the get-go, which I think I typically do, but please bear with me. As we go through the chapter More About Alcoholism, what we're going to be doing is really focusing on the obsession of the mind. Because what we need to see is one of the there's two symptoms of alcoholism. The first is the allergy. Once I start to drink, I can't stop. I can't control it. But the other symptom of alcoholism that we are laser beam focusing on in this chapter, More About Alcoholism, is the obsession of the mind. And that is the thought that I have when I am sober that takes me back again and again to the first drink. And so what we're going to be doing is, and please bear with me, what we're going to be doing is we're going to see some examples of different people and them going through this cycle. And it is the cycle of alcoholism, and we broke that down in the doctor's opinion. And where it's going to start, or where we're going to see it start, is with a firm resolution. And we're going to see it with our man of 30. We're going to see it like later on with Fred, with Jim. We're going to see it with the jaywalker, and we're going to see this swearing off. And we're going to have a little look at the spiritual malady. But what we really are going to focus on, because the spiritual malady, it's not limited to alcoholics. There are spiritually sick people all over the place. But what we're really going to laser beam focus on is the thought that these people have when they are sober that takes them back again and again and again to the first drink. And the reason we're focusing on that is not because if I'm aware of the thought, I can make it stop. But what we're trying to see is that this is a cycle. And what we're trying to see is that this is the hopelessness of alcoholism. If I can see myself in the cycle, if I can see experiences from my own life of when I said I would never do this again, only to find myself doing it again, that helps me to have that step one experience. And that step one experience, as I talk about, is that idea that I can never, ever safely drink again, but I will drink again. So that's what we're trying to see. So this is our guy, man of 30. I actually have a friend who was like, I think he should be called carpet slipper guy. And so I made this I shouldn't be on two tangents at the beginning. It's Ecbole all over the place. But I made this little design for him because he's like, man of 30. Nah, he should be called carpet slipper guy. So what we're going to see, whoever you call him, whatever his name is, let's go have an experience with him. So it says, and as we go through, we're going to see the symptoms of alcoholism, and we're going to see the cycle and point it out. So a man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. He was very nervous in the mornings after these bouts and quieted himself with more liquor. So what you'll see is on page 32, second full paragraph, this guy, he's not a daily 24/7 drinker. Because I was not a daily 24/7, 365 drinker. I would go on sprees and I'm like, see, I'm not that bad. And also when I got sober, I want to apologize to everyone. I thought 30 was old. I now have 30 in the rearview mirror, and I am so sorry. But I'm like, it's just an old guy. Oh, dear. Goodness gracious me. And so it says, a man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. And again, that spree is pointing to that idea that he's not got a whole lot of control. Now, when it says he was very nervous in the mornings and after these bouts and quieted himself with more liquor. Now, it is possible that that anxiety could be that spiritual malady. But no worries. Come back when you're able. We're just glad you're here. But more likely is that it is a sign that he's got the allergy. If you guys know what it's like to drink yourself into that like morning after sort of withdrawal symptoms, the morning after hangover where you're gripped by, anxiety, it could be either or, but I'm bringing those to your attention. He was ambitious to succeed in business. Can't relate. That was never me. But saw that he would get nowhere if he drank it all. And this is what I would like us to have a look at and to sort of illuminate, is that once he started, he had no control whatever. And you can make a little note that that is the physical allergy. And so that once I start, do I have the ability to control it every single time? Or is my experience that, once I start, I don't know what's going to be able to happen. Oh, sorry, somebody was trying to call me on the WhatsApp, and I accidentally, instead of hanging up, I hit answer, and I'm like, oh no. I don't want to, hello, girl. Sorry. Oh, gosh. Alrighty. So, also, while I am just a little all over the place today, which is completely different than every other day when I'm super on the ball, if you're also like, who is this guy? Because as we go through, myself and without question, Rob is going to put in the chat the who's who and the what's what. Who is this guy? Well, there was a book that Bill Wilson borrowed from, I'm being generous, and it was called The Common Sense of Drinking. And it was written by a gentleman by the name of Richard Peabody. And I've been told that it is not pronounced Peabody, it is pronounced Peabody. And so I pronounce it Peabody. And on page 123 and 124, there's a story that's a little like the story of the man of 30. But it's not a perfect fit. So some historians have speculated that the man of 30 was probably a patient, an anonymous patient of Dr. Silkworth that's being referenced. So it doesn't matter who it is or how you say it. That might not be true. If you say that it's Peabody, you might get corrected with vigor, because people love to correct pronunciation. So, but, I'm not pedantic or nothing like that. Alrighty, so once he started, he had no control, whatever. And that is a sign that he has the allergy of the body. Is that my experience? And once I start, I don't have the ability to control it every single time. And it says he made up his mind that until he had been successful in business and had retired, he would not touch another drop. And so if we see in the cycle, this is him swearing off. Our man of 30 is saying, that is it. I am never going to drink again. And so we're seeing that part of the cycle. An exceptional man, which is to say, this is not what most people are able to do. This is the exception. An exceptional man, he remained bone dry for 25 years and retired at the age of 55 after a successful and happy business career. I'll point out, nowadays, I see 55 and I'm like, oh, he retired so young. Good for him. So hopefully any of those that had a bit of a X-rate with me, that simmered down just a little bit. But I want to point something out. So he stayed sober for that 25 years. And when it talks about being bone dry, if you were to look up the definition of bone dry, it would be completely abstinent. It would be that idea he did not touch a drop of alcohol for 25 years. Now, this is just maybe me reading too much into it. Me? I would never. But just the use of the word bone dry, or the phrase bone dry. You know what? I don't know what you guys think of, but I'll tell you what I think of. You know those old timers who have been sober longer than I've been alive, and they don't like it when you point that out. And they sit in the back, and they remember when you could smoke. Yeah, although I don't think I'm referring to you, because I think you're probably delightful. And they're just miserable. And it's like, you don't want to have a cigarette next to them because you're worried they're going to go up like kindling. That's why I'm like, not girl. Sorry, that's not you. You're a lovely, lovely person. But it's that idea like, just miserable. You can feel it. And so I wonder, crunchy, like the candy bar, but less delicious. Just crunchy, And I wonder if that perhaps is speaking to the spiritual malady. Now, that doesn't mean that is necessarily the case very literally. It means, fully abstinent. But I just wanted to point to that. And the reason I'm talking a little about the spiritual malady, because again, the spiritual malady I cannot use that to diagnose my alcoholism. But it was helpful for me to understand that once I put that drink down that I did not feel better, that I felt worse. And the reason I point that out is I thought that was some of my andas and my yeah buts. And the reason I also talk about that is because that is what we treat in Alcoholics Anonymous. We treat that, and we treat that with the spiritual awakening that happens as the result of the 12 steps. That's what we do. And so it says, he retired after a successful and happy business career. He did it. And then it says, then he fell victim to a belief. And when we talk about falling victim to a belief, that is the obsession of the mind. That is the mental obsession. So if you're writing in your book today, you can make a note that that is the obsession of the mind. And it says, which practically every alcoholic has. Every alcoholic has had this experience where we fall victim to this belief. And again, the obsession of the mind is the thought that I have when I am sober that takes me back again and again to the first drink. And this was the belief, this was the thought, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline had qualified him to drink as other men. That period of sobriety was enough for me to be able to drink responsibly. Now, I didn't have 25 years behind me of sobriety. But what it's saying is we will all have that thought that I've been sober for 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, or 30 years that tells me, you know what? I think this time I can now drink responsibly. And if my illness is not treated, it is not a matter of if that happens. It is a matter of when. I will get a thought that I believe that tells me, well, I've been sober this long. I think it was just a phase. And unfortunately, it's not like the teenage goth era or the emo or the, bell bottoms, whatever your generation is. But it is that idea that this is not a phase. That if I've got the allergy, I will always have the allergy. And if I have the obsession, there will be a time when my mind will tell me I can drink again. And I will believe it. So out comes his carpet slippers in the bottle, and that's why my friend wants to call it carpet slipper guy, and I made that for him and his wife. And it says, in 2 months, he was in a hospital, puzzled and humiliated, which is again a sign of the allergy. But I also want to point out the progressive nature. He has not taken a drink for 25 years. And when he was drinking in his 30s, when he was 30, he had never been hospitalized. 25 years of sobriety later, it only takes him 2 months to end up in a hospital. He tried to regulate his drinking for a while, so he was trying to exert some power and control over the physical allergy, making several trips to the hospital meantime. So he's trying to exert some power and control over the allergy of the body, but guess what? It's not working. And the reason it's not working is no human power can stop me once I've taken that drink. I can't control the allergy. And we're going to see what human power is also not sufficient with. Then gathering all his forces. Now keep in mind, he had money, he had resources, and we saw the willpower that he had for 25 years. He attempted to stop altogether. And what we're seeing is we are seeing him swearing off again. And he's using all his willpower, all his desire, all his money to stay sober. And found he could not. That, and what we're talking about there, is that idea that no human power is enough to keep me sober. It's also a reminder is that if I'm here today, recovered, unrecovered, counting days, sober for years, I have an opportunity that I may not ever get again. That this moment, if I am sober in this moment, that this is a precious gift that I didn't earn and I didn't deserve. But the ability to stay in this state of sobriety, and even grow into a state of contentedness, grow into a state of joy, that is contingent upon the actions that I take. Working these 12 steps is a way of life like my life depends on it, because it does. That's what I need to do. Because human power wasn't enough. Money's not enough. The willpower I had in other areas, not enough. Previous lengths of sobriety, not enough. And it says every means of solving his problem which money could buy was at his disposal. And this is important. Every attempt failed. Though a robust man at retirement, he was healthy, he was well. He went to pieces quickly and was dead within 4 years. There was no power that was sufficient to stop him. And he had all this money, power, willpower. And again, we're pointing to that idea, not just the hopelessness, that if I'm sober today and I am not recovered, if I'm not living in those 10th step promises, living in steps 10, 11, 12, man, a clock is ticking. And it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when I drink again, if I don't lean into this thing. So dead within 4 years. And actually, a story from my own life. There was a period of, this was a number of years ago. It was maybe back in 2016. I was looking for a new sponsor. And I was trying to find someone locally, because it's 2016. We're not all zooming around. And there's this gentleman, and I had known him a long time. And he was such a sweet, humble, spiritual man. And you know when you can just kind of feel that like peace about somebody. And I was thinking about asking him. And shortly before I obviously asked him or really came to that place of asking him, he had a relapse. And this man that was a leader within the fellowship, like not a governor, but somebody who had been around a long time. Actually, he was even working at a local treatment center. He was involved in the service structure. He was, I don't know if he was sponsoring people. He had, started to take some steps back, which is what happens. But that man, who was this kind, warm, wonderful guy, was the person who was homeless in the meetings, yelling at people, and where you'd have to have those group consciences because people felt unsafe around him. And that happened very, very quickly. And it got bad. Now, thankfully, he's again sober. He's been sober a number of years now, and he's doing well. But it's like this person became somebody that absolutely is unrecognizable. This person who was like somebody that you would look to for guidance in the meeting was the person that was screaming and yelling and violent in the meeting. Like, if I am sober today, grab a hold of this thing. Grab a hold of this thing, because I might not be able to make it back. And thankfully he was. So it says this case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us have believed that if we remain sober for a long stretch, we could thereafter drink normally. So I just got to get my 1 year and then I can drink like a lady. I remember when I got here, I was like, 5 years seems like that'd be enough. That if we're sober for a long stretch, we could thereafter drink normally. But here is a man who had 55 years, found he was just where he left off at 30. We have seen the truth demonstrated. So this is the truth, and it is demonstrated. It is not a theory or an idea, but it has been demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. If I have the allergy, I will always have the allergy. And if I have the obsession, there will never be a time when I cannot be safely involved in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in short time as bad as ever. Very quickly, it gets bad. Let's hold up a mirror. Has that been my experience? When I have some sobriety, when I've relapsed after that, did it get bad? And did it get bad pretty quickly? Is that my experience? And so it says, if we're planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind, nor any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. And it's important to talk about what's a reservation? And I'll tell you, in my experience, there's 3 types of reservations. Could there be more? Sure, but this is just from my little experience as a little drunk, puttering around, So again, another Ecbole, me going off. But this is my experience. 3 types of reservations. The first is about the allergy. So that first type of reservation is something like, I want to have a glass of champagne on my wedding day. I actually had a sponsee one time who was like, I want to do heroin when I'm 80. And I'm like, why? but I know, like that sort of reservation. The reservation about what it's talking about, that there will be a time when I can drink successfully or I can drink without consequences. Drink on my wedding day, have a glass of wine when I'm retired, that sort of reservation. So that's the first type of reservation. The second type of reservation is that reservation that if this thing happens to me, it would be so painful that I don't know how I would stay sober through it. That's the second type of reservation. So if a loved one dies, if I lose my health, if I lose my job, if I lose this, if I lose that, I don't know if I will be able to stay sober through it. And I'll share with you, I had some of those reservations when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. And many of those happened. And we get to stay sober through it. I get to stay sober through things I did not think possible. Now, the third type of reservation is a reservation as it pertains to the things that I got to do to stay sober. I got a reservation about step 9. I know nobody here has ever had a reservation about the 9th step. Like 2 Fernandos, not that sort of reservation. But another sort of reservation about that is like, I don't want to sponsor others, or I don't think I can sponsor others, or there's a secret I don't want to tell people, or that I don't want to have to do this stuff the rest of my life. So there are those 3 types of reservations. And when I sit with sponsees, because I typically go through the book with them line by line, and we talk about reservations. What we talk about is, I'll ask, hey, it's okay. Do you have any reservations? Let's talk about them. And they always lie and say no. No, I don't have any reservations. And then I say, okay, that's cool. But like, if you did, what do we do? So let's say you're here today and you're like, oh, I don't got no reservations. Great. But there's one sneaky little something that's sort of bubbling up. What do I do if I have a reservation? Well, if I have a reservation as it pertains to the allergy, I can have a look at what is my lived experience with the physical allergy. But also, with all 3 reservations, what I can do is I can pray. And I can take it to God. And I can ask God to help me see the truth about this reservation. Ask this power to help change my heart about how I feel about this reservation. And then, of course, as we saw last week, there's some experiments we can run. Like the first experiment was like, girl, go try some controlled drinking. The second experiment was, we're going to see in just a couple pages here. So, and I love this because this book absolutely meets us where we're at. So we just read a story of a young man, young. I got sober very young. So 30, that's old. I don't believe that. Very young. But young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to stop, to think they can stop as he did on their own willpower. Man, it's one of those things, like this book meets us where we're at. We read Man of 30 and we're like, you know what? I think I could just stay sober on my own willpower for 25. I could do that too. And it's like, hey, we know hearing about that, you probably had that thought rolling around in your noodle. So we're going to meet you there and take you where you need to go. It says, we doubt if many of them can do it because none will really want to stop. None will really want to stop. And hardly one of them because of, now I want us to make a note of this, the peculiar mental twist already acquired will find he can win out. So make a note of the peculiar mental twist, and what you can write is the mental obsession. Again, the peculiar mental twist is just another way of saying the obsession of the mind. And the obsession of the mind is the thought that I have when I am sober that tells me I can drink again. So it's like most people at 30 who have alcoholism are not going to be able to stop on their own willpower. One, because they don't really want to. And two, because if they have the obsession of the mind, I cannot stop on my own willpower. It is not possible. I will get a thought that tells me I can drink again, and I will believe the lie. It goes on to say, several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, and I will also say that the only downside of getting sober young is where you go through men of 30, look at that, up in the future, 30, and then in the rearview mirror, and you just get to have an existential crisis every time it mentions 30. It's cool. It's fine. But several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, had been drinking only a few years, but they found themselves as helpless. Now, helpless is again another word that points to hopeless, that there is nothing in and of myself that I can do to keep me sober. But they found themselves as helpless as those who had been drinking 20 years. It is not the length of time that I am drinking, and it is not even the consequences. The consequences can help build some willingness, but alcoholism has nothing to do with how long I was drinking. And it doesn't necessarily even have anything to do with quantity. When we look at diagnosing alcoholism, we're looking at two symptoms. When I start to drink, can I control it every single time? And when I have tried to stay sober, has that not worked? The allergy of the body, the obsession of the mind. That's what it is. And actually, oh man, I'll tell you this story. It's not my most spiritual story. Please bear with me. But again, I got sober in my early 20s, and there would be some like older guys that would be like, well, I spilt more on my tie than you ever drank. And I would take umbrage with that because I am not always a spiritual giant, little Ecbole over here. But what would happen is I would get kind of resentful about that. And like part of the reason is like in my lifetime, I've gone to well over 50 funerals, most of them people under the age of 40, and I would say even under the age of 30. Like this is a fatal illness, regardless of the age. And so I started, I maybe only said it once, but once was maybe enough. I started saying, well, you know, because in retort to, I spilt more on my tie, or I spilt more on the bar than you ever drank. Again, not spiritual. You'll have to make an amends if you say this. Don't put this in your pocket. I started saying, well, if you stop spilling it, you might have gotten here sooner. Not a spiritual thing to say. So that's my bad on that one. My bad is also not how we make amends in Alcoholics Anonymous. Alrighty. So to be gravely affected, for this illness to be fatal, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantities some of us have. Again, we're looking at the symptoms. This is particularly true of women. Girl power. Yeah, girls. Woo, ladies. It's bad. So it says, potential female alcoholics, and I will let you know when I got here, the only time in my life I ever thought I had potential is when they were referencing the potential alcoholic and the potential female alcoholic. It's potential. Only time in my life. I'm like, that's me. But potential alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. And I just want to talk about that word recall. Gone beyond recall. They are gone, and so far gone that no human power can pull them back very quickly. So again, it's not about length of time drinking. It's not about quantity. It's about those two symptoms. Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics, are astonished at their inability to stop. We who are familiar with the symptoms, again, the symptoms is the allergy of the body. Once I start, I cannot stop every single time. And the obsession of the mind. When I want to stay sober, I go back to it again and again and again. Who are familiar with the symptoms see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young people everywhere. But try to get them to see it. I can't see what I don't want to see. The consequences do help me to see that, like, I'm in trouble. And now's where we're going to get into the second experiment that I can run. So bear with us. As we go through this paragraph, we're going to get to where we see if I'm here today and I'm like, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic. Or I don't know if I have to do all the things that you're nattering about, Paige. We can run this experiment. So it says, as we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our own willpower. If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for a year. That is the second experiment that you can run. So again, the first one is go out, have 3 drinks, stop for 24 hours, try 3 drinks, stop for 24 hours, and so on and so forth. Then that first experiment was testing, do I have the allergy of the body? Do I have the ability to control it every single time? Now, when we go to page 34, where we're at right now, and it's like, okay, just don't drink for a year. What we are testing is, do we have the obsession of the mind? That's it. Just don't drink for a year. Just don't drink. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. And some of you are like, you're aware, like, girl, that sounds awful. That sounds awful. And it goes on to say, if he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is scant chance of success. It's not likely we're going to be successful. But again, meeting us where we're at in the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remain sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. And I just want to share with you this story. And just heads up, this is a really kind of tough story. This is a heavy story, so I just want to give you that warning. I did the Big Book study in person for many, many years, like pre-COVID. And there was this wonderful gentleman. And he was a big guy, and he had this like big sort of like, sort of like belly laugh. Not literally like a Santa, I'm not doing it justice. But he was such a kind person. And one of the things that I really appreciated about him is I did the study with somebody else who could, would kind of sort of take over a little. And he would really make an effort to come and thank me for the effort that I put in. And then people weren't really doing that then. And it was like genuinely so sweet and so kind. And what we would do is we would kick off that Big Book study by inviting people to come to the whiteboard to go through the cycle and share examples from their own life of the cycle. And he came up to the whiteboard and he told this story about how he said, that's it, I'm not going to drink again. And he was able to stay sober for a full year. And it was dry, like don't want to have a cigarette next to him, like dry, and he was miserable. As he told in his story, and he reached this breaking point, and the obsession of the mind for him was the F it, right? And so when it talks about, though you're able to stay, and the next line, though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic. Well, when I met him, he was in a treatment center, and they would come to the Big Book study, many of them. And after a while, he ended up relapsing. And during his relapse, what had happened is he was, presumably in a bit of a blackout. But he got into a domestic violence situation with his girlfriend, and he ended up murdering her. And I talk about that because so often I think, no, not me. No, not me. That's not going to happen to me. And we think the alcoholic death only looks a certain way. We think it only, or at least I did, I only thought it looked like liver cirrhosis. And I was a long way off from liver cirrhosis. But an alcoholic death looks like exactly what happened to him and exactly what happened to her. staying in situations I ought not be in, staying in situations that are violent. It looks like, of course, the drunk driving accidents. It looks like, getting hit when you cross the street because you're not paying attention, because you're intoxicated, falling off buildings, that sort of stuff. It looks like suicide, and it looks like suicide with many years sober. But that drive that I was talking about, when I'm not doing this thing and I can't stand how I feel and I don't want to take a drink, but I don't want to be here anymore. And I know that I talk with a bit of an enthusiasm and a passion. And it's always funny because I know it annoys usually people who are not doing well. So again, if you're feeling annoyed by me, come ask me for help. We'll get you through a set of steps. It'll be great. I'm so sorry. If you're already annoyed by me, you're going to be extra annoyed by me that I suggested that. But it's like, that's what I'm up against with this illness. And that is the seriousness that I take this illness. Man, it is fatal. And it is fatal in ways that I don't think it'll be. And it's like, I don't have to wait to get well. I don't have to, it doesn't take a year to work the steps. It does not take long to take this course of action, to get free, to feel free, to be free, to, help others. And it is available to each and every one of us. Like, it doesn't take long. We can get well. We can be free. We don't have to die a horrific death. And we don't have to hurt those that we love. And so, like, that's part of where the enthusiasm comes from. And so it goes on to say, though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic. We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year. Some will be drunk the day after they're making their resolutions, most of them within a few weeks. Has that been my experience? And again, I just want to share this with you. So when I work with my sponsees, typically we go through line by line. And every time we get to that first experiment, I'm like, all right, here's what you could do if you wanted. I do it a little tongue-in-cheek. I'm not actually pushing them to do it. You could just go out and try some controlled drinking, have some 3 drinks, and then stop for 24 hours, and then see about another 3. And I've never had a single person that I have ever worked with that was like, oh yeah, I'll do that. That sounds like a good idea. They're always like, girl, absolutely not. Are you out of your mind? I know that that's not going to work. I know what's going to happen. But I point out that not everyone that I have worked with has stayed sober. That's the power of the obsession of the mind. When we're sitting here today and talking about the allergy, they were able to see I could never do it. But there was a period of time where they got that thought and they believed that lie. And so, just as much as, like, man, if I have people asking me for help, I always point out I am the last resort of the truly desperate. Like, you gotta be in trouble to ask me for help. Like, it's gotta be bad. If you're wondering if you have alcoholism and you want to ask me for help, you definitely do. It's bad. And thank you all for coming. I'm so glad you're hanging out with me. You bunch of drunks. I love you. But every time I sit down with somebody and I will say, here's what you can do. You don't have to hang out with me. You just stay dry a year. You can even go to some meetings if you wanted to. We don't need to do inventory. You just don't drink for a year. In that moment, they're all able to see, yeah, that's, I would love to, Paige. That sounds like a great option, but I know that that's not going to work. They know. But what will happen is if they lose that momentum, that window closes. And they think, no, I don't need to write inventory on this. I don't need to make this amends. I don't need to work with others. And the obsession of the mind comes back. This time will be different. I can go out and have 3 drinks. And so it might be like, is the book telling me to go out and drink? And is the book telling me not to work a program? The irony is I would do those things anyways. We do those things anyways. And it's allowing me to take the information in the book and hold it up to the light of my own experience. So it says, for those who are unable to drink moderately. So for those of us who I got the allergy. I'm not able to control the amount that I drink once I start. That's me. It says, the question is how to stop altogether. So how do I stay sober? And we have this sneaking feeling that, man, I can't do it. I'm struggling. I don't know how to stay sober because everything we've tried has not worked. It says, we're assuming, of course, the reader desires to stop. We're not here to convince anyone to stop drinking. That's not our job. That's alcoholism's job. But if you want to stop drinking, like that's where we can come in and that's where we can help. And it says, whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. And when we speak about having lost the power to choose whether I will drink or not, you can make the note that that is the obsession of the mind. And so the obsession of the mind means I do not have the ability to choose whether I will drink or not. What does that mean? Because sometimes we kind of gloss over it. Yeah, I've lost the power of choice. No, what does that mean? What it means is if I don't have the ability to choose whether or not I can stay sober, I will drink again. I'm going to drink again. And there is nothing that I've got in and of myself and my abilities to stop it. And just for those that are like, what do I got to do? A spiritual awakening as the result of the 12 steps. That's what I need. That's how I stay sober. And so when it says whether such a person can stop on a non-spiritual basis, what we're talking about there is whether, welcome, we're on page 34, second full paragraph, whether such a person can stop based on and not need a spiritual awakening is contingent on do they have the obsession of the mind. And so what are some non-spiritual ways to quit drinking? Well, willpower. Did I try willpower? And did it not work? Did I try self-knowledge? And did it not work? Did I try the good old geographic, moving around? Did it not work? Did I try changing jobs, relationships, decor, outfits? Did I have pull a Britney and shave my head? Or just do a little dye job so I don't have to do inventory? Did I do any of that? Did that not work? Did I try going to the gym? Did that not work? Did I try going to therapy and doctors and counselors and rehabs? And I want to be clear, I'm not talking poorly of these things. These things can be very, very helpful. But were they not enough to keep me sober? Did they not work for that? Did I try, detoxes, rehab, psych wards, other institutions, jails, hospitals? Did I try that and did that not work? Did I try just going to meetings? And did that not work? Did I try religion? And it might be weird to say religion. What do you mean a religion is a non-spiritual way to quit drinking? But you see, what I need is a spiritual awakening. And I need a profound spiritual change within myself. And so did I try religion? Did I try these things? Self-help groups, self-help books. Did I try these things? Did they not work? And if that's my experience, then I have the obsession of the mind. And if I have the obsession of the mind, that means I'm in a hopeless condition. Because I have to stay sober because of the allergy. I need to stay sober because of the allergy. I want to stay sober because of the consequences of the allergy. But I cannot stay sober. That thrusts me into that hopeless dilemma. Now, I'll be transparent with you guys. I did not try everything, but everything that I tried failed. Is that my experience? And I could get some time. I could get a couple months. I wanted to kill myself the whole time. And I talk about that because if I'm suicidal, that is not the sobriety that I need. Because if I'm living there, I'm either gonna do it or I'm gonna drink again. What I'm after is permanent, contented sobriety. And if I don't find that, I will drink again. So is that me? Let's hold that mirror up to the light of my experience. Is that me? Is everything that I've tried not work? And that everything that I tried could be some of the steps. Did I try some of them? A lot of times when I hear people say, I tried AA doesn't work for me, they usually stopped at step 4. typically. Like, we didn't do all of it. So did I do some of it, but not have done all of it? Has that been my experience? And did it not work? It goes on to say, many of us felt that we had plenty of character. I felt like I had morals and values, and I felt like I was or wanted to be a good person. But that couldn't keep me sober either. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever. I had this feeling in my gut that's like, Paige, you gotta quit. You gotta stop. But it was not enough. And here's the thing, yet we found it impossible. It was impossible. It is not possible for an alcoholic to quit on their own power. And that is helpful news. It's not good news because it's like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. But if you've been relapsing or struggling and you're like, why? It's just because you have alcoholism. And wonderful, we have a solution for alcoholism. I thought I was miserable when I was sober because of the andas, the yabbats. I thought I was relapsing because I didn't want it bad enough. I thought I was just bad. You know what I mean? No, I have alcoholism. And if that's me, I got a solution for that. It says, this is the baffling feature of alcoholism as we know it. This is what is so confusing to us. But this is also what makes this illness hopeless. The utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. I am unable to stop myself from taking that first drink, no matter how much I need to, no matter how much I want to. Give it a day, a week, a month, several months, even a year later. I will always pick up that drink. I want to stay sober. I need to stay sober, but I don't have the power in and of myself. And if that's you, that's alcoholism, and we got a solution for it. That's 3 minutes left for Peppa. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.